One quick way to getting job security when running sound at church is making vocalists happy. One tool to do that is with proper use of reverb. Today we're going to dive into reverb on live vocals. Once you master this, you'll have another tool in your tool belt and you'll be like a hipster coffee connoisseur. I like the texture of this one. It's got a nice smooth finish. If you're new here, go ahead and hit subscribe and ding the little bell to turn on notifications. I post new videos every week on helping you make every worship mix an enjoyable one. Oh, and stay to the end to get a free guide on making sure that you're winning with sound at your church. Singing is hard, and we want to support our singers with every little bit possible. And it really helps to add a little bit of reverb to add some sustain on those long notes or when they're almost out of breath. Reverb can help our vocals feel thicker and wider. It adds richness in the time domain, so things can still feel clear, but then also warm at the same time. When it comes to types of reverb, a hall is really hard to beat. A plate can also be really fun, but it can sometimes be a little bit bright right out of the box. We'll talk about EQing your effects in just a minute. In general, we want to time our reverb to the tempo of the song. For a slower song, we're going to want a longer reverb. With a faster song, we're going to want a shorter reverb time. If you just want a happy medium, pick something around 2 seconds. Reverb that's timed to the music makes it feel like it's part of the mix itself, and not just something else you're adding on top. If you really want to nerd out, divide 240 by the tempo of the song. That'll give you the whole note measurement. If you want to make it a half note, divide that by 2. Let's take the basic reverb that's built into the console and listen to different reverb times on this song. I'm going to run it up higher than I would normally, and then we'll tuck it back in the mix later. All right, let's start with about 1 second of decay.
You came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains. You came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains.
Let's listen to 1.6 seconds. This is about a half note for this song.
You came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains. You came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains.
All right, now let's kick it up to 3.3 seconds. This would be a whole note for this tempo.
You came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains. You came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains.
All right, I really like the whole note one on this one. The 3.3 seconds really fits the tempo of the song, gives it a nice richness, especially since those notes are a little longer. Now I've got this turned up way too much, but what's a good amount for reverb? A good rule of thumb is to make it more conspicuous in its absence than in its presence. Basically what that means is you want to be able to miss it when it's gone, but not really notice it when it's there. So when mixing in your reverb, you turn it up to about the place where you can hear it, and then back it off a little bit. Hit mute and see if it went away, unmute it and see if it came back. When you can tell that it's gone more than you can tell that it's there, that's when it's about in the right spot. Okay, but I'm going to save you a bunch of trial and error. -12 is a great starting place. Sometimes I'll trim the output of my reverb return so that it comes down 12 dB, then I can put my fader right around 0. That gives me a lot more control over the fine tuning of the balance of the reverb in the mix. Now you might not even need much reverb because you're in a reverberant space in the first place. There's distance between you and the speakers. In a live setting, you don't have to have reverb on all the time. Now let's take your professionalism to another level and add pre-delay. Pre-delay is the little bit of gap between the original signal coming in and when the reverb actually starts. Pre-delay adds some separation between your vocal and the reverb. If the reverb is pushing the vocal back in the mix, pre-delay is pushing the reverb back from the vocal. Now let's listen to that same reverb with different pre-delay times. All right, we've got it pushed up, so it's drowning, but let's take a listen. Do you hear how it got a little more separation? Let's kick it up to 100 and see what that feels like.
For I was
let's kick it all the way up to 150 milliseconds.
For I was far away in debt and sin. I know I ought to live again.
All right, now that we've heard the difference way out in front, let's hear what it sounds like kind of tucked in. Now granted, I'm listening to a big PA in a big room, so it might sound a little different, but we'll give it a shot. We'll start with it dry and then I'll add it in.
For I was far away in debt and sin. I know I ought to live again. And then you came and drew me close in love.
All right, it kind of fills it in, adds a little bit more sustain on those long notes, kind of gives it a nice texture that I missed when it was gone, but I didn't really notice it while I was there. All right, let's be like Emerald and kick it up a notch. Now we're gonna add EQ to our reverb send. I don't EQ the reverb return. I wanna get rid of the stuff that I don't want in the reverb before it gets to the reverb. All the S's and T's I want out. All the rumble I want out. So rolling up the high pass filter to about 200 and rolling down the low pass filter gets rid of those S's and really cleans up our reverb. We can push it up more and add a little bit more space without getting it cluttery. On the SSL, the stem has the EQ built into the channel strip that has the reverb on it. We just have to make sure that the EQ is before the insert in the channel strip. On any other console, you'll have to put an EQ on the mix or aux send that's feeding your reverb. All right, here's the reverb with the filters applied.
For I was far away in debt and sin. I know I ought to live again.
Another thing you can do is have your low pass filter a little bit higher and cut some 2K with the EQ. This helps unclutter it a little bit more in a little different way.
And then you came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains.
All right, with just the vocals and the reverb, I'm gonna turn off the filters and the EQ and then put them back on again. See what you can hear.
For I was far away in debt and sin. I know I ought to live again. And then you came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains.
It just makes me happy every time I turn it back on. I love it. Now we can roll the high pass filter up even higher to get even thinner reverb, but then we're not gonna get any warmth out of our reverb over the time domain. That might be helpful for you in whatever mix you're doing, but again, it's just another thing to consider.
For I was far away in debt and sin. I know I ought to live again. And then you came and drew me close in love. You washed away my guilt and filthy stains.
So if you're gonna start putting EQ on your reverb send, type EQ in the comments below. Now here are some other controls that you may have seen and wondered about on your EQ. The diffusion is how closely together all the different reflections are when they're reverb. The further away you are from the speakers, the lower you want the diffusion. Too high of diffusion can give you that drowning vocal sound, and nobody likes that. Modulation adds some variable pitch shift to your reverb. It can be tricky to get right and take you straight back to the 80s, so use sparingly. Don't ever send modulated reverb or delay to a singer's monitor mix. It'll throw off their pitch faster than someone can say, "Have you considered serving as an usher?" If these reverb tips were helpful for you, go ahead and hit thumbs up to let me know. Click subscribe and ding the little bell to get notified every time I post a new video. I'm posting videos every week to help you make every worship mix an enjoyable one. And if you want to be a more valuable asset to your worship team, download my free guide, How to Lead Your Church Sound Team. The link's in the comments below. We'll see you next time.